What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp. It is July 20th. It is the Fightful Post-Raw podcast. We are joined by Denise Salcedo, who has taken taken time out of her busy schedule these days. You are on everything right now.
Hollywood Salcedo is making the rounds. I'm making the rounds right now.
I think you might be like Sussex Salcedo. There we go, Salcedo.
Sussex Salcedo. That's
you're the British celebrity now. You're on all the Wrestle Talk stuff these days.
I know, but I was so sad though because some people were like saying mean things. They were like, "We don't like this American girl with the LA Valley girl voice," and I was like, "I can't help it, guys." But it was kind of funny though because I was like, "Well, I am from LA, so chances are I'm gonna talk a certain way." But I just thought it was funny. It was really fun to go out there and do that. I ended up getting over 700 new YouTube subscribers after that,
Nice.
so I'm just like really over the moon over that.
Well, yeah, and make sure you guys subscribe over there. Make sure you guys subscribe here if you're watching on YouTube. Leave us a thumbs up, subscribe. All that good stuff really helps us. Leaving comments helps us. Sharing the videos helps us. I want to thank you guys. Over 30,000 people have watched the EC3 interview. Just watched, not even including all the audio downloads it did. It is now our second most downloaded interview ever, only behind Jon Moxley. I want to thank you guys so much. He's a guy that I talk to quite a bit, so it will be a person that you'll probably see me interview more along the way. But if you're watching live on YouTube, donate a super chat. Any amount gets your statement or question read on the air, and it goes directly to paying that Fightful payroll so we can bring you the scoops, we can bring you the news. Anakin JMT says hashtag DWO.
Oh yeah, that's still a thing. Denise World Order. I'm invading Fightful. I'm invading Wrestle Talk. I just need to have an actual somebody else to join me though.
Yes. I wonder who would join you.
I don't know. I'll put out
Your grandma
applications.
for one. Your grandma for one.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, she was so charismatic. She just came on and Luke pointed her out. And at first, I wasn't sure if she was gonna say or do anything. She just looks at the camera and throws a peace sign like a natural. And I was like, wow, grandma, check it out.
I love it. So Anakin JMT, very important super chat. He says, big thank you to everyone who has donated for the GoFundMe for Wild Boy. We're at over 1,400. Still time to donate if you haven't. You all rock. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, one of our mods, one of our good friends, Wild Boy, lost his mother yesterday. Quite frankly, I don't know how to put it into words, but this man has had the toughest year I have ever seen somebody have in losing family members, losing work, a lot of that stuff. And he is the best kind of person. He is a wonderful person. I have his GoFundMe pinned at the top of my Twitter, at Sean Ross Sapp, and I'm actually going to retweet it again right now. Please donate if you can. I would really appreciate that. I would consider it a personal favor. He is a great dude. We're trying to help him out with some medical expenses and funeral costs and things like that. Please consider giving to this guy because if you were in the same situation, he would likely do the same thing for you. Oh, man, it is a bummer, and we got to talk about Raw to follow that up. My God. And we got to talk about Alistair Black losing his first match on the main roster, his first honest-to-God one-on-one match. Denise, do you have any idea how much this upset me?
No, how much did it upset you?
A lot. If I yell or scream on this show, it's usually in jest. But I was very upset as far as pro wrestling results go, because this was a guy in Aleister Black who had been built so well and was a winner and never lost. And it's like, you know what? All that deserving title shot stuff, he would have been one that just makes sense whenever you want to do it. And not only did they beat him, they didn't even mention that the guy has never been... The only time he's been beaten in a singles match since NXT, since he left NXT, was a gauntlet match against AJ where he had won 2 matches right before that. Unreal.
Wow. And here's the thing, too. When he lost, I just kept thinking to myself, why did Seth Rollins need that victory? Why? literally, he just took out someone's eye, and he doesn't need a win after that. So that was my train of thought going into this. And when I saw that he lost, it was just kind of like, okay, Seth Rollins really didn't need it here. I think Alistair Black should have definitely won this for storyline purposes. It would have made a lot more sense. But I will say this, though. I loved the match. I thought it was a really, really hot opener.
It was a really good match. On my match ratings that I post, I take booking decisions into consideration here, and that one didn't help it. I was very, very frustrated by that. My God, it was just so, like, they had a guy. It was stupid. It was ridiculous. It was a waste. It was a waste. A good match. Rollins misses the stomp, eats a black mass, and I'm sure some people will say, yeah, but he had Rollins beat until Buddy Murphy ran in and all that stuff. I don't care. And you know why I don't care? Like Jeremy Lambert had put about something else, I've watched WWE for longer than 10 minutes. I know what a loss means. Gallows and Anderson mentioned it on their show. The people backstage are like, oh, man, they lost. They're jobbers. How can we get them over? They're jobbers. It's so frustrating. Well,
that's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate. And here's the thing, though, is that, like you just mentioned, Alistair Black is one of those guys that you can say that the fans had a lot of hope riding on. And he's the guy that you're like, oh, I would love to see him work with Drew McIntyre. And versus we should be there at this point right now, and we're not. And there's really no reason. I mean, this whole Seth Rollins, Rey Mysterio storyline, he's sort of been in the shadows of this and just coming out and getting some cheers for helping Rey out and whatnot, but that necessarily hasn't done anything for him. And even prior to that, where he was just having like those similar promos each and every single week that just weren't doing anything. And so it kind of felt like things were getting better for him, but it just kind of feels like right now, I don't know what's going to happen. And even with like the post-match beatdown, I mean, I thought it was great, but given the fact that he didn't win, it was just kind of like, it just didn't work out at all.
Yeah. I was so frustrated by this. Like, just a slam dunk decision. And there are fewer things that annoy me more when wrestling is presented with a slam dunk decision and they just waste it. And quite frankly, Alistair Black versus Seth Rollins could have been a SummerSlam match. And if you beat Alistair Black, beat him on SummerSlam. So frustrating. And then they beat Alistair Black's ass, break his hand. Him being off TV is probably better for him than what they've done with him over the last month. Having him come in there on his noble steed and just save the day for Humberto Carrillo. Because, yeah, that's what he's been all about. The guy that used to sit in a dark fucking closet for 3 hours and say, pick a fight with me. That's what he loves to do. He loves to go out and help Humberto Carrillo. Okay. Dang.
And you know what, though? At least during this match, though, I will say this, that obviously the match itself was really good, which I already said. But one of the things that I did like about what Alistair Black brought to it was that he was working this match like he was trying to get vengeance for what happened to Rey. And I thought that added a lot to it. And here's the thing, that was a good opening match. And the problem with Seth is not his matches, because his matches have all been great. It's just that right now, like in terms of like the storyline and everything, it felt silly to me. It felt sillier talking about the eye for an eye stipulation today after it happened versus before it actually happened. And I don't know why, but I just kind of felt like, oh man, like he's coming out here and he's trying to sell this, and it's just like not, it just wasn't connecting. It felt silly.
Yeah. I'll tell you something I did like. Farouk is on the show. We see him backstage, Ron Simmons, talking to MVP and Bobby Lashley, saying, oh, there's another way. And even MVP, the thing I like is MVP, the heel, showed him respect. Because after he walked off, he looked at Bobby Lashley and he said, we'll talk about it. I like that. I like a guy like Ron Simmons getting respect, because inevitably, when he gets punted in his goddamn head in a few weeks, it will be somebody that has been shown respect on this program and is someone who commands respect. We also see him talking to Viking Raiders later on, and I love Farouk, love Ron Simmons. R-Truth is is great. The thing is, R-Truth is able to play his role very well, Denise. Because the thing is, either he's clueless or he's really the most clued in guy there. I don't know if you remember when backstage one time he basically lured The Miz, I think it was The Miz or somebody else, into giving him an Intercontinental title shot by playing dumb. And they're like, what are you doing? And he is like, I'm showing you how to get a main event on SmackDown for a title. I love that element of R-Truth, to where you can laugh at him, but there's a lot of times he's the smartest guy in the room. And I loved him here walking around saying, oh, that's a replica belt. That's a replica belt. And MVP's like, no, it's not. It's mine. And he's like, well, it's a replica belt because you're not the champion. I like seeing the layers out of R-Truth, Denise.
Yeah, you know what? Every time R-Truth works with anybody. See, here's the thing, too, is that sometimes you're given, like, silly scripts or silly lines to say, right?
Oh, boy.
But with R-Truth, he knows how to deliver them in a way where it just works and it makes you laugh. Like, I always go to my favorite memory with him and Brock Lesnar. Like, he legit had him cracking up. And I don't think that happens very often. So I really like everything that he's done, R-Truth. And that's why I was actually kind of bummed today when he lost the bout. I was kind of like, that's a dirty one that they just did that to R-Truth. And that's the thing, though, that the fans have gotten on his side, and we want to see him as champion.
Yeah, and MVP is phenomenal on the microphone. He's like, oh, why does the 24/7 champion walk with us to the ring? And Truth is like, nope. And they're like, well, we meant this guy. And then Shelton Benjamin shows up and super kicks him. I'm all for that, too. I'm all for a different approach for the 24/7 title. I'm good with Shelton Benjamin being a part of the Hurt Business because I love Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin was my last favorite wrestler, quite frankly. I think that if Shelton's push would have happened these days, if he would have been in his younger years in his prime these days, he probably would have gotten the WWE Championship. It wouldn't have been one of those, well, we don't know if he can talk kind of things, because if you go back and watch some of his promos, you watch some of his skits with Trish Stratus and Vince McMahon, where they parodied, I can't remember what it was, they parodied like the Terry Hatcher show. He was good at delivering some of this stuff. And I think that he was way better than anybody gave him credit for. So I'm open to seeing him with this title. What did you think about this move?
All right, so I gotta say, I think I have different opinions when it comes to this, just because as much as I like Shelton Benjamin and as much as I like MVP, I just really have no interest. Nothing has really made me interested in what they're doing. And the thing is that we went from having MVP as being this mouthpiece that was supposed to highlight Bobby Lashley, that was supposed to put him front and center. And now I just kind of feel like the focus has completely shifted and it's all about MVP. And so because of that, I just have zero interest, like at all. Like I'd rather see R-Truth as champion. And I just think that it's gotten to a point where every time they come out, I'm like, okay, well, what's going to happen now? Because I rather see something more new. And even when we saw Ricochet and Cedric and Mustafa Ali come out afterwards, I was like, yes, that is what I want to see. I want to see young guys, young talent have a moment, have a spotlight. Just like we're seeing MVP have the spotlight with Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, I want to see it with guys like Ricochet, Cedric, and Ali.
Yeah, I just wanted to see something different because I've seen R-Truth with the title a billion times, and I was ready to move past it. Anakin says, Shelton was awesome with his promos, with his mama. Yeah, that was a ridiculous gimmick that shouldn't have worked, but he was making it work. Reminder, donate a super chat. Any amount, get your question or statement read on the air. Denise, these promos. Ricochet and Cedric Alexander cut some of the worst promo. Like, they were so bad. So goddamn bad. It's like...
They were dumb and dumber.
Oh, my God. So MVP calls him Dumb and Dumber, and Cedric goes, Dumb and Dumber? That joke would have worked in 2006. when your career was relevant. And I'm like, man, that movie was 11 years old at that point. Get that?
So yeah, it wasn't even relevant then.
It wasn't relevant then. It wasn't relevant then. The series had already been killed by a shitty like prequel. It was done. And then MVP says something about humble pie, and Ricochet is like, "We're not going to be the one that's eating humble pie because you are going to get humble pie." Ha ha. And I was like, "Oh God, man." When I hear that level, and here's the thing. I don't know if they wrote the promo, don't know if a writer wrote the promo, don't know if they had any input. To me, talking shit is incredibly easy. It's a very easy thing to do. So when I think of two of the most impressive athletes that I've ever seen in wrestling, I don't know if they have that natural ability or not. I've never had a personal conversation with those two. But if they don't, they need to find somebody that does have natural shit-talking ability that can reflect the level of talent in which they have. Because let me tell you, I'm pretty confident in my shit-talking abilities. If I was walking around able to do the things that those two guys, you wouldn't be able to stand me. And some of you can't already. But you would not hear the end of the things I could do. And it would not be, well, ha! I'm going to give you humble pie because I'm not eating humble pie. Gah!
Yeah, that was not good. I think it was more of like how they delivered it too, because it kind of came off like you knew what they were trying to get at. You knew what the point and the purpose was. They were trying to obviously make MVP not seem relevant because of the time, whatever, but it just fell short, and it was because of the way they delivered it. It sounded goofy. That was the problem. And I think that's sort of been like what I usually think when it's not like we've been seeing Ricochet have the greatest promos ever. I don't think we've ever said like, oh, Ricochet is just so great on the mic. So I knew that the second that they came out and they had the mic and that they were going to come out and respond to that, I wasn't expecting anything like amazing to come about from that.
Oh, man. Cyclops is better than Wolverine, says Ricochet with the swagger of George McFly. And we also had a super chat from Rob Wilkins that says, when Ali appeared, I was happier than a nun in a cucumber patch. Jesus Christ. Man, he says.
That's really happy.
Jesus. He says, give me Ricochet, Cedric, and Ali in a stable. They'll take it away. Sad face. I think that this show should be trios based. I really do. You've got Randy Orton, Andrade, and Garza. You've got Mustafa, Cedric, and Ricochet. You've got the Hurt Business. You got the Viking Raiders and maybe Big Show, whoever the hell they want to throw in there. You've got a lot of good trios there. So I think that, oh, man.
But I almost feel like if we were to see them as a trio, though, I feel like every time that happens, you just know they're not going to be taken seriously anymore.
Yeah. I was glad to see Ali back. There's no hacker gimmick going on right now. They've just abandoned it. That's frustrating because that was one of the more talked about things in WWE. It got as much buzz as anything of late.
But I also do think that having Mustafa Ali come into the show was very much needed because, like, he is seriously loved, man. Like, I've never heard anyone say, oh, I don't like Mustafa Ali. And this is one of the things that I was talking about, like, a few weeks back was that we need more faces on Raw. We keep seeing the same people over and over again doing the same thing. And so even just having Mustafa Ali come in and join up with Ricochet and Cedric, even that seemed a little bit refreshing, but I don't see them if they were to be paired, be brought together as a trio, I don't see them going anywhere with it. I see it just sort of becoming as just something that ends up being forgotten about, or you just see them in random matches here and there.
And I wish they would just say, Mustafa Ali's SmackDown contract expired and he signed with Raw. Just make sense of it. Don't just have him. By the way, this was his first match on TV this year. If you believe that. First match in 2020.
I saw your tweet, and then right away I was like, wait, we are in July. It has been almost half a year.
Has been half a year, yeah.
Yeah, there you go, half a year. And this is his first singles match. That was kind of insane to me. But at the same time, I think we've been so distracted with like everything else that's been going on. That's why I didn't even realize it. But kind of like having that fact inside of my head, it was kind of mind blowing.
And the thing is, they immediately put him back in the mid card. At least they had him win. He got an insane hot tag and suicide dive. Ricochet got worked over the majority of this match, but those promos took me out of it hard. Lashley is feeling kind of special again, though, so I like that. Like, he feels like a big, bad son of a bitch, and I like that. Ed Call says, WWE TLC, trios, ladders, and chairs. I would love that. I would love that. But, Denise, you're not going to eat humble pie. I mean, I'm not going to eat humble pie. Huh? Are you going to eat humble pie?
I don't want humble pie. No.
Well, I know you don't want humble pie because you want Magic Spoon.
Yes, I do.
Everybody wants Magic Spoon. It's way better for you than humble pie or really any kind of pie. Growing up, cereal was one of my favorite parts of being a kid. I'd grab my bowl. I'd eat like 9 bowls in a row, watching my Saturday morning cartoons, or even coming home from school and watching X-Men and Spider-Man, all the goats on Fox. I just chomp through that cereal. And even when I eat cereal today, that's what I do. I go bowl after bowl after bowl, but not anymore thanks to Magic Spoon. This stuff fills you up. I've been trying to cut down on carbs, sugar, unhealthy foods. But if you've got cereal in the habit, it's not so easy to do until you get Magic Spoon. 0 sugar, 11 grams of protein, only 3 net grams of carbs in each serving, and the variety pack that I always order has cocoa, fruity, frosted, and blueberry. It tastes amazing. It's too good to be true, but it is true. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, which I find very important, low-carb, GMO-free. My favorite is the cocoa, but that frosted is hot on its trails, hot on its tails, whatever the saying may be. I love Magic Spoon. I can eat cereal. I don't feel guilty about it. And like I said, it fills me up. 1 serving size, 1 bowl. Go to magicspoon.com/Fightful. Grab a variety pack and try it today. Use that code FIGHTFUL at checkout to get free shipping. I always have people say, oh, what's it like? Is it worth the price? Yes, because it goes a lot farther than regular cereal. That's my favorite part about it. I'll buy a variety pack and it lasts me. The variety pack of 4 probably lasts me about as long as like 12 boxes of regular cereal because of the rate in which I eat it. I love this stuff. magicspoon.com/Fightful. Use that code. Hit them up at Eat Magic Spoon on Twitter. Let them know that you heard about them from us. Eloquent sends a super chat and says, what did you think of the Good Brothers podcast? Did you watch that, Denise?
I did not watch that. What did I miss? Was it really good?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was, and I'm hoping to talk to them very soon. There are some things, a lot of things really I wanted answered that weren't answered. But they talked at length about the WWE deal. Like, they had heat with AEW and still do because for like months and months and months, AEW thought they were coming in. AEW built the Dynamite debut around them, and then they just didn't come in. Triple H said to Carl Anderson, man, when I look at you, I see your kids. And I just think, man, what if AEW isn't there? What if AEW doesn't work out? Then they got fired. That's scummy.
I did see those quotes about the podcast, and I see at the same time I see it a little bit differently too. I mean, I get it. I get in that moment you're saying like, hey, what if they don't last? Yeah, that's legitimate because you don't know. You don't know if a company is ever going to last. You can't necessarily just say like, oh yeah, they're going to last. You don't know that. So I do see his perspective during that moment. And based on them getting released afterwards, it sucks big time. But I mean, based on what I've heard, it wasn't like a decision that Triple H made. So it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. It's a really icky situation, but yeah, I was reading those quotes and I felt bad, but at the same time, I started thinking to myself, like maybe, they always say when one door closes, another one opens, and maybe it was meant to be for the better. And this is the thing too, is that after watching Slammiversary, I just kept thinking to myself, man, Impact is literally is going to reap the best rewards out of everybody. They are really making the most out of these releases and really moving forward with that. So I think that it's going to work in the end for Impact especially, and they needed it. They needed a new, fresh crop of talent.
They did, and they got it. Impact got it big time. Check out our Slammiversary post show that we did with Steven Jensen. It's a good one. But, I mean, they also talked about catching Paul Heyman basically in a lie, and that's what led to AJ having heat with him. Like, Paul Heyman, they feel, could have kept him off the chopping block, and AJ was not happy, and he hit the bricks. Now, here's the funny thing. AJ left Raw, like, 2 weeks before they fired Paul Heyman. And now Raw's got a dastardly shortage of heels. It's rough. It's rough. Azo Smith says, looks like my super chat last night about authority figures rang true. Although, honestly, I should have seen it being the one woman that invented women's wrestling. The greatest of all time, Stephanie. Let's talk about that. We get Sasha and Bayley coming out to the ring. Sasha says that Asuka was actually handed the women's championship, which she does have a point, kind of, from a heel perspective. But there was no official around, so Bayley counted the pin for her. Kabuki Warriors interrupt, and then Stephanie interrupts, the inventor of women's wrestling herself. And she says, next week, Sasha versus Asuka for the title. You can lose via pinfall, countout, DQ. She didn't say that vacated the title or anything. And the Dallas fan 1982 said, so since Asuka wasn't pinned or submitted, shouldn't she retain her title? Well, I don't think they have stripped her of the title, so to speak. They never mentioned that. They didn't say vacated. They didn't say stripped of a title. So I think it's just a no contest. Is that how you're taking this, Denise?
See, now that point is brought up, I do think that in terms of holding the bout, it should be Asuka. Because Stephanie said, Sasha, you didn't win it, but neither did Asuka. But Asuka was already the champion. So with those key words, Asuka should technically be holding the bout right now instead of Sasha Banks, but obviously we're not going to see that happen. But in terms of having Stephanie McMahon come out, I thought that was obviously the best way to go about it, because I know, like, even during the post-show review that I was doing, everybody was wondering, like, you know, considering that we don't have an official Raw GM right now, like, how is this decision going to be brought upon? How is it going to be made? So having Stephanie come out and do this, like, yeah, it worked, but at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, well, you know, now we're seeing this match again when in reality we could have just had a proper finish at the pay-per-view. So I know some people are seeing it differently. Some people are seeing it as, okay, so that didn't count, whatever. But now people are seeing it as, okay, well, at least we get to see this match again. And at Extreme Rules, they knocked it out of the park. That I'm not going to complain seeing them wrestle again.
The only thing that I hated was that shitty finish. And quite frankly, these days, they're balancing, I think, pay-per-view and TV very well. You've got the non-sanctioned match tonight on TV. You got the bar fight, as stupid as it is, on SmackDown. You've got Asuka and Sasha on Raw. You've got a title match, a world title match next week on Raw for the WWE title. They're building next week's Raw up already. I mean, Drew and Dolph for the title after the banger they had last night. Sasha and Asuka, I mean, it does make you wonder why the hell did you watch the pay-per-view? But, I mean, they're doing a pretty good job. Colt Badeau says, couldn't Asuka just walk over to Sasha and take her belt? I mean, that's the thing. You would think so, Denise.
They could have had a tug of war, man. Like, think about it. Like, it's my bout. No, it's my. I mean, it would have looked pretty weird. But think about it. If somebody has something that's yours and belongs to you, and you think it belongs to you, wouldn't you go out and try to get it back? I think so.
Yeah. Reminder, guys, donate a super chat. Any amount, get your question or statement read on the air, but subscribe over here And I want to take this time to tell you guys to go over and subscribe to youtube.com/Fightful MMA Boxing. Starting in August, that whole channel and really all of Fightful MMA is going to be completely reinvigorated. We've hired Shaquille Majuri to take things over. I have not been able to give MMA the attention that it deserves on this site, and we could have very well just cut our losses and packed up the MMA section, but we don't want to do that. We want to make our presence felt in the MMA world. So Shaquille Majuri is joining us. He's going to lead that charge. I still will be contributing over there, so check that out. And I know some of you, when you go to Fightful, you're like, oh, I don't want MMA stories or I don't want wrestling stories. We have FightfulWrestling.com. We have FightfulMMA.com. Go there, bookmark those pages. You can get specifically wrestling, specifically MMA. We've got notifications that you can get as well. We make it very easy for you. Make sure you check it out. Well, we checked out Kyrie versus Bayley. This reportedly was Kyrie's last WWE match, and she is going to be missed. And there were, let me tell you, based on what I know, WWE was fully aware that they're probably going to lose her, but they were trying to do about anything they could to get her to not wrestle anywhere else. A lot of things were pitched for her. Ambassadors, schools, there were a lot of discussions that were had. This match, okay, there were two spots that I loathed. You know, the Del Rio spot where Bayley's got to hold herself up, and then where she's got to balance herself. If those two spots were not in this match, I would have been sitting there saying, man, this was as good as maybe Sasha and Asuka last night. It ruled so much. Kyrie played all her hits, and then ended up winning after Bayley did the Bayley to back and the flying elbow. That back fist was good. The insane elbow was good. This was such a good farewell, if it was a farewell to Kyrie Sane.
Yeah, I really hope it wasn't a farewell. And this is because of what we've been seeing from her the last several weeks since she returned back. We've been seeing her just, have her spotlight in the ring. Obviously not as big as Asuka, but still a spotlight. And so I don't want her to go away. But I mean, obviously that's not our decision to make. But overall, I thought that the match was a lot longer than I expected it to be. Yeah. To be honest, I actually thought that we were going to see Bayley win this match just because based on what we saw earlier, I was like, all right, well, we're probably going to have Bayley win this match. But halfway through the match, I was like, man, we need to see Kyrie Sane win this, not only because she needs a win, but because, of everything else that's been circulating and talked about her. So I thought the match was pretty solid. I enjoyed it, and I was really, really happy when she won. And you can tell she had like that facial reaction. Like if you were reading her emotions, you can tell there was something else going behind her eyes. You can tell that she was thinking something different. So I don't know.
Yeah, she's so good. She's so good. Azo Smith says, I could see this playing out as Bayley attacking Sasha, making people she's turned on her, or making people think she's turned on her, but actually helping her win due to the title changing hands on interference. Also, Bayley and the backhands. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Stephanie just alluded to Bayley getting involved at all. She's like, Bayley cannot get involved at all. So I think if that happens, Stephanie was vague enough to give them an out there. That way Bayley couldn't just run in and punch Sasha and be like, oh, well, look, DQ. She straight up was like, listen, a certain golden role model cannot get involved in this. I think they covered that base pretty well.
Yeah, I think so too. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm honestly curious as to what they're gonna do because I don't have a solid answer in terms of who I think is gonna win and how they're gonna carry on with the Sasha Bayley feud. I have no idea how that's gonna go ahead and finally actually have that little explosion that we've all been waiting for. I don't know.
Hannah Moore says, did someone just learn the term vested interest? How many times can you say that in one interview? Well, that's because Shayna Baszler was backstage watching this match, and apparently she has an interest in vests, Denise, based on this interview.
I thought she had an interest in sharks. That's what I got from this interview.
Man, I'm just glad to see Shayna back. I'll say that. I'm glad to see Shayna back. For the love of God, I'm so glad she's back. Woof.
But you know what? We have been seeing her do a lot more since she came back. Well, not really a lot more, but we've at least had this incorporation of her.
Sure.
We could have easily not seen her today is what I'm trying to say, but we were able to see her, and she was, keeping an eye out on this match. And obviously we want to see more with Shayna, but I think that because of the way people have been reacting to her not being used and her missing for several weeks, I think we might actually finally see something happen with Shayna. So that's just my gut feeling. I didn't like the whole shark line. I thought that was a little funny, but I was like, oh, whatever.
Yeah. Anakin JMT says, agree with Denise. In AEW, the Good Brothers might have got lost in the shuffle with the depth of the division, but at Impact, they can be at the top. Yeah, I agree. I mentioned that on the Impact show, too, that the North won the titles when it was Lucha Brothers and LAX and all these teams, and for the last year, there haven't been great teams. It's just wild that now that they're losing them, it's when Motor City Machine Guns and Heath Slater and Rhino and the Good Brothers are going to be in there. It's wild.
And I was disappointed too because LAX has been my favorite tag team for a really, really long time. And I remember watching them work against the Lucha Brothers on so many Impact pay-per-views, and I just thought, man, like they put on some hell of matches, And so when they left, I was very disappointed because I felt that there was a big chunk missing from Impact, and I thought that they were part of that.
Yeah. Reminder, leave us a thumbs up, guys. That stuff really helps. Anakin says, Denise, can I be the Louis Spicolli of the DWO if you're Hulk Hogan? She doesn't know who Louis Spicolli is. Come on, she's a youngin'. You don't know who Rad Radford is. You don't know who Madonna's boyfriend is. You casual.
Man, just
casual.
Just throw me under the bus, man.
Man, well.
You know what? I will accept it. As long as you want to be part of DWO, you can come on over. I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to be mean.
My God. Well, Bianca Belair's backstage. She cuts a good promo to remind us what the EST of WWE is. And she's got to remind us because she ain't been on TV in 4 months. And WWE has the lazy booking, and that's why Bianca hasn't been on TV. Peyton, Royce, and Ruby Riot show up to interrupt the promo. Billie Kay is not there. So Ruby Riot beats Peyton Royce in a match. It's a fine match. It's quick. There's the tarantula that Peyton does, and she screams at Ruby that she's a loser, and I'm like, why are you yelling? Everybody can hear you already. Just talk. But there's a weird-looking jumping kick, but then Peyton misses a dive, and Ruby hits a Riot kick, and she's very much like, oh, I can't believe I won a match type of thing. And to me, I've always looked at Ruby Riot as a credible type of, like, all it takes is them heating her up a little bit. And they make her look like such just, I'm so happy to be here. And I'm like, that doesn't really fit her.
I wasn't expecting that reaction from her at all. I would expect it from somebody else, but not her. That's not her style at all. She's supposed to be like this edgy, cool chick that if she won, she would have been like, yeah, like have a different sort of reaction. I was surprised that
I get it.
Won.
She hasn't won, but the thing is, man. So
I didn't like the match, though. I will say that. I was pretty bored throughout this match. I really didn't care. At some point, I thought, okay, well, let's just have Ruby Riot's going to lose, move on from there. And then when she won, the only thing that stuck out in my mind was her reaction afterwards.
Yeah, guys, by the way, while we're talking about this match, send your love to Casey Michael of Squared Circle Sirens. He's been in and out of the hospital, and he is one of the best reporters, like, period. Like, he has... He is connected to the PC unlike about anybody else has been, and I want you all to send your love to him. Friend of mine, and just an all around good dude. But the Ruby thing, it's like, okay, I'm glad she won, I'm fine, but I would have rather her been like about time instead of I can't believe I won. But yeah, there we go. Street Profits interrupt an interview and attack Angel Garza and Andrade, and we get a pretty damn good match here. Angel Garza uses this great stockade hold, which is a really good like hold submission that he can taunt an opponent with. Montez gets a tag and goes 100 miles an hour, like leapfrog, drop kick, flips up, tope con hilo. And that wasn't the most impressive thing he did by a mile. There was a weird-looking Andrade back body drop suplex thing, but whatever, it's effective. Angelo does a great series of T-bone suplexes. But let's be real. We're here to talk about one thing, Denise. We're here to talk about maybe the greatest frog splash in the history of wrestling.
It felt like it was in slow motion. When I first saw him do it, it was like, okay, he went up, and every time he goes for it, I always think, okay, is he going to go that much higher than the time before? And then this time, when he did that, like, twist, I was like, what on earth did I just see? I don't know what I saw, but that was freaking awesome. And even, like, the camera angle, it almost looked like he just went so high up, like he could touch the ceiling. Obviously, He didn't, but it looked that impressive from the camera perspective that we got from that, and I loved it. I saw like 15 replays of it on social media, and I was like, this is cool.
Shady Hiley T says, best frog splash ever? I'm inclined to think so, and I am a frog splash enthusiast. Rob Van Dam, Art Barr, D'Lo Brown, Eddie Guerrero. Seen some great ones. Art Barr, personally, had my favorite before this. This was incredible because, like, here's the thing. You can get really high and you can do the turnaround. Rob Van Dam used to do the turnaround pretty often. But I've never seen somebody get that high on one period. I've never seen a frog splash get that high. And I've also never seen the 180 with it. It was unbelievable. It was special. I was like, wow, I'm watching something. That's kind of what I want to see on an episode of Raw. If this were a 2-hour episode of Raw and I got to see that frog splash, I would have been satisfied with just that. If the rest was drivel, I would be like, man, I got to see the greatest frog splash of all time. That's cool. And
that's the thing about Street Profits too, is that if you notice, every time they come in or it's like a big moment or whatever it is, they always go that extra mile. Like, you never see them say like, yeah, you know what, there's no audience here, so I'm just gonna, half-ass it. No, like, they're always hyped, like if they're sold out in Madison Square Garden or something.
Yeah, I completely agree. Really like this. Don't know why this wasn't a tag title match. Like, why not? Why not add stakes to this match? Why not make this a tag title match if the Street Profits are going to win anyway? I'd rather Angel Garza and Andrade lose in a title match than just lose in a non-title match, and at least this would have more stakes to it.
Yeah, no arguments there. I definitely think so, especially like you said, if they're going to win, then might as well go for it.
And honestly, all due respect to Rey Mysterio and Sasha Banks, I know they do frog splashes in honor of Eddie Guerrero. Put it on the shelf for a little while. You've done it enough. Just let it be Montez's move. Zelina goes off on Andrade and Garza for losing backstage. Sucks to suck, I guess. Drew McIntyre comes out and says that Dolph Ziggler almost got him, but almost getting it is the story of Dolph's career. Damn, that was a pretty solid burn.
I hated all of this.
Really?
I was not a fan of this entire segment. I liked one part, and that was when Drew McIntyre told Dolph Ziggler to bugger off. That was it. But when Dolph Ziggler was begging for... Okay, so first of all, Drew McIntyre says that he wants a worthy opponent, and I'm thinking, yeah, we all want that worthy opponent for you, right? And then in that moment, like right away, the music hits, Dolph Ziggler comes out, and I'm thinking, no, not again. And then afterwards, when he's begging Drew for a rematch and he's telling him, you pick the stipulation, and he's doing all of that, I'm just thinking, God, please don't say yes. Please don't say yes. Come up with something else. Come up with something else. But nope, we got a rematch. And you know that Will Smith picture that's going around where he's like all sad and depressed?
Yeah.
That was me during this moment, all right? That was me, zero interest. I was out on this one.
So I am too, I guess. Here's the thing. It's for a match next week. You're not going to have weeks and weeks of build. So I was like, all right. And I love the line. But to me, I hate it when Drew came out and said, I'm going to face a worthy challenger. Because You know how I felt about him saying that months ago, because so far his worthy challengers have been Big Show coming off of a hiatus, Rollins off a WrestleMania loss, Ziggler for just showing up, and Ziggler after he lost. The one that they tried to make worthy was Bobby Lashley, and they tried for a month. That's it. They had him lose at WrestleMania, by the way, to Alistair freaking Black. He lost to Alistair freaking Black, who never got a title shot before he lost. Then they were like, oh, shit, we got to heat him up. Jinder got hurt. We got to heat some people up. Frustrating. Very frustrating. Now, go ahead.
I just feel like I can think, like, right off the top of my head, I can think of different people for him to be working against. Like, even somebody like, okay, obviously we already mentioned Aleister Black. You have Andrade. Like, there are options. It doesn't have to be Dolph Ziggler. And I was like, okay, yeah. Their match at Extreme Rules, it wasn't bad. I'm not going to say that it was bad or anything like that, but I went in with very low expectations, so that's why it was not bad. But I really wasn't feeling this at all. I wasn't a fan.
To me, I'm okay with it. I know Dolph's not going to win next week, but I knew he wasn't going to win last night either, and I thought it was match of the night because they tore the house down. It was really, really great. But Ziggler says he wants a rematch. Drew tells him to bugger off and headbutts him. But Ziggler begs him and says Drew can choose a stipulation, the time, and the place. But Drew says he's going to do the same thing and tell him right before the match. JK Schwal 03 sends a super chat. It says, kudos to the guy who screamed, eye for an eye!
I love that. I love that. That was so great. I was like, I want to be friends with that guy.
That popped me too. Because, I mean, that is a wrestler from NXT that did that. They had to know they're probably going to get some shit for it. And it was funny as hell.
It was funny too because the thing about that is that that's something that you would hear from like a rowdy drunk fan in the audience. Like that was a legit response that you would hear if you were at a Raw show.
Yes.
Honestly. So I think that the fact that he even said that, it kind of threw us off guard because it's not what was expected of them to do.
Yes, exactly. Ed Call says, how did it take WWE 2 hours to acknowledge Drew? I don't have a problem with that. It was his spot on the show. They waited until late into the show. I'm fine with that. But, yeah, I can't remember if they had anything about him in the opening spot, but I'm okay with this.
Yeah. I mean, it was fine. I actually thought that it took a while for them to mention the whole Sasha thing.
Yeah. There's no Ric Flair here tonight. His wife has COVID. Best wishes to her. Hoping Ric Flair stays safe. Randy Orton's backstage, and he talks about the defining moments of his career and says that he's making his now, that he loves killing legends. Let me tell you, this was a lot better than Big Show's promo, Denise.
I feel so bad. He talks so much that if you told me, Denise, recite one sentence from that, I can't even give you one sentence. It was just kind of like so many words that you can't even remember anything.
Boy, was this rough. What did Big Show even say? He said something like, well, me and Randy, we were friends and called ourselves the Hammer and Chisel. I was the hammer and he was the chisel. And I'm like, listen, first off, that's lame, Denise. That's lame. Because when you use BlueChew.com code FIGHTFUL, you can be the hammer and the chisel, if you know what I'm saying. You can erect a few things with that hammer and chisel, if you know what I'm saying. Thanks to BlueChew.com, code FIGHTFUL. Hoo boy, same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know they work, but they work a lot better. They're faster, and they're cheaper, my friends. It's a chewable, so it can get into your system a lot faster than those ones that I mentioned. Take it on a full stomach, empty stomach. It's ready when you are, even if you're traveling up and down that road. Don't resort to choke slamming yourself, if you know what I'm saying. Do you know what I'm saying, Denise?
No, I don't get that one. Is it a man thing? I didn't get that one.
It sure is. It sure is.
Sorry, that one went over my head on there.
Okay, well, hey. Hey. You can get this stuff shipped straight to your home discreetly. You don't have to wait in line at the pharmacy. You don't have to go to the doctor's office because Blue Chew works with their affiliated physicians to find out what active ingredient you need. It's not about having a problem. It's about having good performance. And even though Orton and Big Show did an unsanctioned match, we do not tolerate that. Make sure there's sanctioning. Make sure there's consent. All that is important when you're using BlueChew.com, code FIGHTFUL. Get your first shipment free when you use that. Hit them up at Blue Chew on Twitter. Let them know you heard about them from us. Azo Smith says, Drew still has a worthy challenger, the one woman in history to defeat the WWE champion and stood up to the psychopath, the boss, Sasha Banks. 3 belts. Like, I appreciate Azo for donating a super chat just to troll about that.
Yeah.
Rob Wilkins says, curious, do you think a babyface Brock makes WWE money? Yeah, I do. I think a babyface Brock, here's the thing, you got to have a series of heels big enough and bad enough for him to go against. And WWE is miserable at making them. But I think that a babyface Brock could make them a lot of money.
Dude, I'm a big fan of Brock Lesnar, and I know people have complicated difference of opinions towards him, but I just like seeing Brock Lesnar in any sort of capacity. But here's the thing, though. If we were to see babyface Brock, that'd be great because, like I mentioned earlier, we've seen him have some funny moments, and when he has those moments, there's something about him that just, like, immediately connects to the audience. Like, it's lovable and it's funny because you don't really associate him as being, like, those jolly guys that crack jokes, based on his character. So when he sort of gives you that extra element, it's very lovable, and you, like, want to be friends with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. What did you think of the Christian interview via Skype? I could barely hear him.
It was very serious. I was just kind of like, okay. I didn't expect it. I thought it was a little bit dull. I didn't really care for it. Like, I can't even say, like, oh, it was a highlight or what he said was amazing or anything like that. It kind of felt flat to me.
So we got the match. I thought it was a fun match. Big Show chops and spears Orton heavy. And then Garza and Andrade showed up. And to be honest, I kind of forgot about their alliance that they had. And I'm still all for it. Because let's be honest, WWE loves to mix up 3 people of the same race. They love doing that. That's their go-to. I mean, for the love of God, they did a whole series of stables, the Nation of Domination, Los Boricuas, DX. They even had their like pseudo-racist biker stable for a while. Like, they love doing that. So putting Orton with Andrade and Garza, if they do, I really like. Viking Raiders made the save. That's pretty cool. What do you think of Andrade, Garza, and Orton?
All right, so I liked them when they had that match together. I thought that was pretty cool. So, I mean, I just love everything that they've been doing with Andrade and Angel Garza, and every single part that they have been incorporated has really, really gone over well with me. And, like, I want to see more, honestly.
Yeah. I dug this match. Big Show misses a punch. He missed the Vader bomb through the table. I probably wouldn't have had Big Show kick out an RKO, but they did. And Orton beats Show with a chair, his draping DDT, and gets the win with an RKO.
I thought that this match, so there was a lot of impressive moments, and I gotta say, man, kudos to the Big Show because he took some sick spots during this match. I thought it looked pretty impressive when Randy Orton drop kicked him and he fell to his knees. I thought that looked pretty cool. Obviously, when he went through the table, I mean, just seeing Big Show go through a table, like, no matter what, that is going to look cool. It's going to be impressive. I thought that it wasn't a bad Raw main event at all. And here's the thing, though. I think the last several weeks, all Raw main events have been really good, and they've been pretty unique. They felt special. And so I actually thought that they've been keeping this continuation really well. So I enjoyed it, and I thought that the punt at the end looks sick. Like, it looked really, really good. So I just got to say, like, I think Big Show did a really good job of selling all of that.
I really believe that if WWE kept a similar format but did a 2-hour show, they would have really good to great episodes of Raw almost every week. They wouldn't have to redo a bunch of stuff. They wouldn't have to. I mean, if people took breaks, that would be normal. You wouldn't be able to fit everybody in your show. So Ali taking off a few months, that's okay. Not everybody has to be around all the time. I see stuff like this, and I'm like, well, I know that if Raw was 2 hours, this match would have been 3 minutes. Or another match would have been 30 seconds. Like, because that's just the way they did it. When they first introduced 3-hour Raws, we were in the middle of The Shield. Like The Shield showed up not long after that. Maybe it was 2011 when they did it, but you also had CM Punk around then. You had Alberto Del Rio. You had The Shield emerging, Daniel Bryan. You had all these workers that were finally getting to have long matches. And to me, the novelty of just having good long matches is gone. This was the right amount of story and the right amount of length to it. Orton punted the shit out of Big Show. See you later, bro. That was good.
Yeah, I liked it.
That was a good closer. David Diker says, hello from Netherlands. Been enjoying your content for a while. This is the first time actually supporting you. Long live waking up early, having a nice evening, and I hope Raw was decent. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much for doing that. Those super chats go a long way. We didn't even really do super chats like a year ago. So thank you guys that support us in that regard. Rob Wilkins says, face Lesnar versus heel Lashley and the Hurt Business is amazing. I think that could be a lot of fun. I think Brock would win that easily, but it would be a lot of fun, Denise.
That would be really good, and I like the combination of that because it would be totally opposite from what we've been seeing, so yeah. I like that.
Leave us a thumbs up, guys. Get us over 100 likes here as we're live. Azo Smith says, you're welcome, Sean and Denise. I'm here all week for this excellent channel, and it's consistently great content. Hey, I appreciate you a ton for saying that. It means a lot, and especially that you super chatted that. That was very awesome. TJ Ridgway says, I feel like Ford is going to do a full 360 mid-splash one day. I see, I don't know if it's physically possible to do because the thing is, you can do like a 360 twirl, but I don't know if he can physically get all the way around. But if anybody can, I feel like it's him, Denise.
You know what? I have seen a lot of things that I just thought were physically impossible. So I think at this point, with the level of athleticism that we've been seeing throughout pretty much every single promotion, I mean, it has stepped up. I don't exclude anything as being a possibility anymore.
Yeah. This isn't a super chat, but it's a brilliant idea from Adrian Gray. He says, oh shit, Shelton in the Hurt Business. What if he tries to recruit Brock and Brock turns them down and starts a feud? That is a really good way to fire that off, where MVP's like, hey man, put in a good word. And then it's revealed later that's really the reason MVP wanted Shelton Benjamin. He wanted Shelton Benjamin because he thought it was an in for Brock Lesnar. And yeah, I would like to see that. That sounds fun.
All these ideas, I'm missing Brock now.
Yeah, Carter Bramelli says, here for your appearances on Quizzlemania. It worked like a great Fightful ad. Wondering how you think they can keep Orton hot until Edge comes back. They seem to fizzle out good things too quick. Hey, right now, Denise, I'm okay with him doing 3-4 week feuds and killing legend after legend after legend. His promos are good, and I'm just like, okay, I know what's going to happen, but I like it.
I don't think Orton is going to fizzle out anytime soon because it seems to me that he's on a roller coaster right now, and it's just going up and up right now. So I can't see it dying down soon. If anything, I see it picking up some steam.
I think a good heel move, since Ray lost, is you have Ray come back. If Ray's leaving because he's working without a deal, he shows up and he says, "Oh, I'll have my recovery." No, he won't, because Randy Orton's going to punt him in the head. And that's a wrap.
I wonder how long he'll be gone for, Rey Mysterio, if he decides to come back.
Yeah, who knows? But, guys, thank you all so much. Make sure you leave a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook. I'm trying to push that a lot more. Facebook.com/FightfulOnline. But, Denise, tell the people where they can find you.
All right, as you guys know, youtube.com/Denise Salcedo. I am about 1,300 subscribers away from hitting 30K. So I can't
Nice.
wait to say that I'm a 30K channel. So I'm really excited to go there. I actually just uploaded a new interview for today. I talked to MLW star Selena De La Renta. Go
Ooh.
check that out because we talked about her early career, why she even got started in wrestling in the first place, her family's reaction, what it's like being a woman and a Latina, in wrestling, and all the things that she's done, and some of her goals, which I thought were pretty interesting. Some of the things that she said there on as well. Plus, we did the lightning round game, which is always really fun. So check that interview out. And I have some more stuff planned out. So hopefully they all come to fruition. So youtube.com/Denise Salcedo, Twitter and Instagram @_Denise Salcedo.
Thank you guys so much. Denise is back on the Listening Girl this week. Jimmy will be back soon. We're out.